It's a funny thing about mornings. For many of us, the day starts slowly. The sun peeks in through the curtains, the kettle begins to hum, and our bodies, well, sometimes they're just not as quick to wake up as they used to be. You might notice the stiffness in your knees or the dryness in your mouth, but for a lot of men over 60, there's another kind of slow start that's even harder to talk about. I'm talking about circulation down there. That quiet, private concern that too many men just keep to themselves, hoping it will improve on its own. I remember one patient of mine, Harold, 73 years old, widowed, still as sharp as a tack. Harold came into my office one Monday morning with a look that told me he'd rehearsed his words. He fidgeted with his wedding band, took a deep breath, and said, "Doc, I think my engine's running out of steam." He wasn't talking about his heart or his lungs. Those were fine. He meant that the part of his life that once made him feel vital, alive, and confident was slipping away. He'd started to avoid dating even though he wanted companionship. He felt, well, a little less like himself. I'm Dr. Nolan Easton, and for over 30 years, I've specialized in men's health, particularly in helping men over 60 navigate the changes their bodies go through with warmth, honesty, and practical solutions. My work isn't just about adding years to your life. It's about adding life to your years. And today, I want to share something very simple, something you can do first thing in the morning that could make a remarkable difference in how blood flows in your body. And yes, especially in that private area you might be too shy to talk about. See, circulation is everything when it comes to performance, sensation, and even the way you feel about yourself. The trouble is, as we age, our blood vessels can lose their flexibility. Plaque can build up, and the little arteries that feed blood down there are often the first to show signs of trouble, long before bigger problems like heart disease or stroke appear. That's why poor circulation in this area is often called the check engine light of men's health. Harold's case was classic. He didn't have major heart problems. He was reasonably active, but his mornings were spent on toast, coffee, and the newspaper. No real thought to how his breakfast might affect his blood flow. And that's where we started. I explained to him that what you put into your body when you first wake up can either prime your blood vessels for a day of smooth circulation or leave them sluggish and constricted. Now, I don't want you to think this is about exotic powders or some expensive supplement. What I'm talking about is food. Real, everyday food you can find in your local grocery store. There's a very specific group of nutrients that your blood vessels love, and when you give them that gift in the morning, they respond. Your arteries open up, your blood flows more freely, and, if you'll forgive the phrase, your plumbing gets the kind of tune-up it's been waiting for. When Harold first heard this, he laughed. "You're telling me my breakfast could fix this?" I told him no, breakfast alone won't solve everything, but the right breakfast can start a chain reaction that improves your circulation all day long. Over time, that adds up to better performance, more energy, and the kind of quiet confidence that can change the way you carry yourself. Before I share what Harold started eating, I want to pause for a moment and speak directly to you watching this. If this is striking a chord, if you've noticed things aren't quite the same as they were a few years ago, I want you to know you're not alone. More importantly, you're not stuck. If what I'm saying resonates with you, just drop a yes or no in the comments. I do read them, and it helps me know what kind of advice is making a difference for men like you. And while you're here, go ahead and click that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next tip, because your health and confidence are worth that little click. Now, Harold's turnaround didn't happen overnight, but it started with one key change: adding a breakfast rich in natural nitrates, antioxidants, and healthy fats. You might be thinking, nitrates? Isn't that the stuff they put in bacon? Well, yes and no. The nitrates I'm talking about come from vegetables, beets, spinach, arugula, the kind your body converts to nitric oxide, which is like a magic signal that tells your blood vessels to relax and open up. Combine that with antioxidants from berries, and you're giving your arteries a morning spa treatment. For Harold, we began with a simple beet and berry smoothie, something he could blend in under 3 minutes. We added a spoonful of flaxseed for omega-3s, which help keep blood vessels flexible, and a little plain Greek yogurt for protein. The first week, he told me, "Doc, I don't know if it's in my head, but I feel lighter somehow, like I'm waking up faster." That wasn't just his imagination. When your blood is moving well, your brain, your muscles, and yes, that other area, all start to respond. And here's the thing, this isn't just about intimacy. Better circulation down there is a sign your whole vascular system is working well. That means more oxygen to your heart, better stamina for walks or golf, even sharper memory. In fact, the same nitric oxide boost that helps with performance also helps protect against cognitive decline. It's all connected. Harold stuck with that breakfast for a month, and the changes were undeniable. He had more morning energy, his blood pressure improved, and he grinned when he told me this, he started seeing someone new. He said, "Doc, I feel like I got a piece of my life back." That's the kind of change I wish for every man watching this. Of course, diet is just one piece of the puzzle, but starting your day with foods that support circulation is like setting the tone for everything else. It's a habit that reinforces itself. You feel better, so you move more, so your blood flow improves even further, and once you start feeling those results, you won't want to go back.
When Harold came back for his follow-up, I could see it in his posture before he even sat down. Shoulders back, eyes brighter, almost like he'd left a few years of wear and tear behind him. And that's when I knew we were onto something worth sharing with every man who walks into my office over the age of 60. What's fascinating is how quickly the body responds once you start giving it the right tools. In Harold's case, his morning smoothie wasn't some miracle potion, it was a signal to his blood vessels, telling them it's time to open up and do their job. And the truth is, once those pathways start working better in one area of the body, they improve in others too. Blood flow is not selective. You can't just have better circulation in your legs or in your heart without also improving it down there, and vice versa. Now, I want to pause here because I know some of you might be thinking, "Doc, it can't be that simple. I've had these issues for years." I hear you. This isn't about pretending one breakfast will erase decades of wear and tear. But the beautiful thing about the human body, even at 60, 70, or beyond, is that it can heal, adapt, and respond to the right habits faster than you might believe. The key is to start, and start in a way that feels doable, not overwhelming. That's why I often tell my patients, start with one change. For Harold, it was his morning meal. For another gentleman I see, Ron, 68 years old, it was adding a 10-minute walk right after breakfast. That small burst of movement got his blood pumping, his muscles engaged, and combined with the nutrient-rich foods we talked about, it gave him a double boost to his circulation. By his third visit, Ron reported not only feeling more alert in the mornings, but also more responsive in intimate situations with his wife. That was a win neither of them were expecting to happen so quickly. And this is where I want to stress something important. Improved circulation down there is not just about intimacy. Yes, it's an important part of a fulfilling life for many men, but it's also a marker of vascular health. If you start seeing changes in your ability to perform, don't ignore it. It's often your body's way of whispering that it needs help. If you listen and respond now, you can head off bigger problems later. I remember explaining this to Harold in our second appointment. I told him, think of your blood vessels like garden hoses. When they're flexible and clear, water flows easily. But if they start getting stiff or clogged, the flow slows down and pressure builds up in the wrong places. He chuckled and said, "So you're telling me my hoses need a good flush?" And I said, "Exactly, but we're doing it naturally with the foods and habits that your body already knows how to use." Now, one of the most powerful morning foods for this purpose is something so simple, so humble, that most people overlook it. Leafy greens. Spinach, kale, and arugula are packed with those natural nitrates we talked about earlier. And if you combine them with a source of vitamin C, say a small orange or a few slices of kiwi, you help your body convert those nitrates into nitric oxide even more effectively. Nitric oxide is the little messenger molecule that tells your blood vessels to open wide, like turning a faucet from a trickle to a steady, strong stream. Harold was skeptical at first. He'd grown up on the classic bacon and eggs breakfast and thought smoothies and greens were for younger folks. But I challenged him. Just give it a month. By week 3, he admitted he was starting to crave the freshness of his morning blend. "Doc, I don't even miss the bacon." Well, maybe a little. We laughed, but the truth was his taste buds were changing right along with his blood vessels. This is also a good point to remind you. If you're watching and any of this makes you think, that could be me, then I want to hear from you. Just type yes or no in the comments. I read every one because it's the only way I know if these conversations are connecting with you. And if you haven't yet, hit that like button and subscribe. Not because it's some YouTube ritual, but because every time you see one of my videos pop up, it's a little nudge to keep taking steps toward better health. Now, improving circulation isn't just about the foods you add. It's also about what you remove. Harold, without me even pushing him, started cutting back on processed carbs in the morning. He swapped white toast for whole grain, then for the occasional oatmeal with walnuts and blueberries. That's a combination that fuels your body without spiking your blood sugar, a big deal for circulation. High blood sugar can damage the lining of your arteries, making it harder for them to expand. So by keeping his breakfast low in added sugars and rich in whole foods, he was protecting those delicate inner walls of his blood vessels. We also talked about hydration. It's such a simple thing, but most men I see over 60 aren't drinking enough water, especially first thing in the morning. Overnight, your body loses fluids through breathing and sweating. If you start your day dehydrated, your blood is thicker and flows less easily. Harold started drinking a tall glass of water with a squeeze of lemon before his smoothie, and it was like priming a pump. That early hydration helped everything else he was doing work even better. After about 6 weeks, Harold's changes were not just physical. He told me he was sleeping better, feeling less sluggish in the afternoons, and, in his own words, more interested in dating than I've been in years. I could see the self-assurance in him, that quiet but unmistakable confidence that comes when a man feels good in his body again. And I have to say, that's one of the most rewarding parts of my work. Watching a man reclaim a part of himself he thought was gone for good. For Harold, it all started with a choice to put something on his breakfast table that would serve his circulation rather than slow it down. And that's what I want for you too. Because once you start feeling that change, it doesn't just affect your mornings. It spills over into the rest of your day, your energy, your mood, your relationships. And in my experience, those changes are worth every small step it takes to get there.
By the time Harold hit the 2-month mark, the difference was so clear that even his friends noticed. One of his golf buddies asked him, "What's your secret? You've been walking faster and hitting the ball further lately." Harold just smiled and said, "I changed my mornings." Now, he didn't tell them exactly what we'd been working on, but that's the beauty of it. When you take care of your circulation, it shows in all sorts of ways, not just in the most private areas. I remember when he told me that story in my office. He leaned forward and said, "Doc, it's strange. I didn't think something as small as breakfast could ripple out like this. My workouts feel easier, my hands and feet aren't as cold, and, well, you know the rest." I smiled because this is exactly what I want men over 60 to understand. Your vascular system is one network. Improve the flow on one part, and you improve it everywhere. This is why I'm such a believer in making that first meal of the day count. Too many men wake up and immediately reach for coffee and a donut, or skip breakfast entirely. That's like trying to run your car without oil in the engine. Sure, it might work for a while, but over time, the wear and tear adds up. When you feed your blood vessels first thing in the morning, you're reducing inflammation, improving elasticity, and setting the stage for better performance. Whether that's climbing a flight of stairs without getting mended or feeling confident in the bedroom again.
Harold wasn't my only success story with this approach. There was also Carl, 71, a retired carpenter who came to me complaining of just feeling old. He didn't want pills, didn't want complicated plans, just wanted to feel like himself again. I gave him the same advice. Start your day with foods that boost nitric oxide and support circulation. For him, that meant a veggie omelet with spinach, tomatoes, and a sprinkle of feta, plus a side of watermelon. Now, most people don't realize it, but watermelon contains an amino acid called citrulline that your body turns into arginine, a key player in nitric oxide production. Within 3 weeks, Carl came back grinning, telling me his wife had been asking what was different. And that's the thing. These changes don't just stay in your body, they change the way people see you. They see the spring in your step, the energy in your voice, the way you carry yourself. That's why I'm telling you, if you're sitting there wondering if it's too late, it's not. Your body wants to work for you, you just have to give it the right fuel. One question I often get from men watching videos like this is, "Doc, can I just take a nitric oxide supplement instead?" And my answer is always the same. Supplements can help, but they should never replace real food. Nature packaged these nutrients in fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds for a reason. They come with the vitamins, minerals, and fibers your body needs to actually use them well. Plus, when you start eating these foods daily, you're not just boosting nitric oxide, you're lowering blood pressure, balancing cholesterol, and improving gut health, all of which contribute to better circulation. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, but I've got years of bad habits behind me. That's all right. You can't go back, but you can start from where you are today. And trust me, the body is more forgiving than you think. I've seen men in their late 70s turn things around with nothing more than consistent small changes to their morning routine. At this point, Harold was doing so well that we decided to add a little challenge. 5 minutes of light stretching right after his breakfast. Nothing intense, just enough to encourage blood flow from head to toe. He told me it made him feel limber and even seemed to sharpen his focus for the rest of the morning. That's because movement and diet together create a powerful 1-2 punch for circulation. You're opening up your vessels with food, and then you're pushing that nutrient-rich blood through every part of your body with movement. If you're finding this advice helpful so far, I'd love for you to let me know in the comments. Just a simple yes or no. It helps me see how many of you are connecting with these ideas, and it also guides me on what to share in future videos. And of course, hit that like button and subscribe so these tips keep finding their way to you. You'd be surprised how much of a difference that little reminder in your feed can make to keep you on track. Now, one thing Harold noticed surprised even me. He said, "Doc, I've got more morning energy, if you catch my drift." I told him that's a classic sign of improved nighttime circulation and better vascular responsiveness. For many men, the return of morning function is one of the earliest signs that what they're doing is working. It's not just a confidence booster, it's confirmation that the inner mechanics of your circulation are healing and performing the way they should. And with better circulation comes more than just physical changes. Harold began feeling more socially confident. He started going on walks with a neighbor, attending more community events, and even joined a local photography club. He told me it felt like his world had gotten bigger again. That's one of the most overlooked benefits of addressing circulation. You open the door to living more fully. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Men over 60 don't need to accept poor circulation down there as an inevitable part of aging. It's often reversible, and it starts with choices as simple as what's on your breakfast plate tomorrow morning. The right foods send the right signals, and over time, your body responds in ways that you can see, feel, and enjoy.
By Harold's 3rd month on the plan, the change wasn't just visible, it was undeniable. His blood pressure had improved, his energy stayed steady from morning to evening, and the man who once slouched into my office was now standing tall, smiling, and telling me about weekend getaways with the woman he'd been seeing. "Doc," he said with a grin, "I didn't think I'd ever be this happy again at my age." That's the kind of moment that reminds me why I've been doing this for over 30 years. And here's the truth I want every man over 60 to hear. You don't have to settle. You don't have to accept sluggish mornings, cold hands and feet, or fading confidence as the new normal. The body you have right now is capable of more than you realize. And a big part of unlocking that potential
comes down to supporting your circulation. Now, I know there are some of you watching this who might still be on the fence. Maybe you're thinking, I'm too set in my ways, or it's too late for me. But I've seen men in their late 70s and even early 80s make measurable improvements, sometimes within weeks, simply by changing what they eat in the morning. The reason is simple. Your blood vessels respond